And welcome inside episode 122 of Breaking Bats, presented by Not For Long Media. My name is Justin Ayers, and I'm joined, as always, but my guy is Ricky Finkel. Dude, it's a lot has happened in this last week of baseball. It's great to have you back on. I know we've kind of been alternating weeks here, doing a little news roundup of stuff around the league, but it's great to see you. How are things up there in New York?
It's good. The sun's coming out. The weather's getting nicer. Birds are chirping. Spring is here, or spring is almost gone now, but baseball season's officially here as the NBA and NHL close out, though.
Yeah, it's getting ready to be all baseball all the time once those two sports wrap up. And then people will be like, hey, there's no sports on. It's like, wrong. Summertime is baseball.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of this.
Beer,
Sports
grab a dog,
yeah.
stadium.
Go hang out, watch some ball. We're gonna start with the New York Mets because they've had a tough go of it as of late. Their month of May, they were 11-21. I don't think that's accurate as of today's win, but kind of just paints a little bit of a picture of the scene up there in Flushing, Queens. Times have been tough. They've had glove tosses, closer meltdowns, some injuries. If you had to take all of those things that I just mentioned and boil it down, what do you think's been the most frustrating part of the Mets season so far?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like every day there's something new with the Mets, which is just, life as a Mets fan builds character. I think I was thinking about this earlier. The most frustrating thing has got to be that if Edwin Diaz was right, if we didn't blow 9 saves over the course of 2.5 weeks or whatever it was, we're probably pretty close to a 500 team. And yes, we just swept the Nationals, so I'm a little positive today. I'm back. I'm invested again. But it's just, I feel like no one's talking about we could be there, but we're not. I don't forget how bad we are, but I just throw it out there that we could be better.
It's a good point. Realistic. Yeah. I mean, a couple things break your way. Edwin Diaz becomes like old Edwin Diaz. The trumpets are going. It's a whole different ball game. I still think, the NL East does not run through any of our teams at the moment. So that part's a little bad, but you know what? The Phillies played an easy schedule. So what can you do? When in doubt, just go look at the strength of schedule is my little rule of thumb.
Yeah, and I will say I think that the strength of schedule matters a little bit more with other sports, but I mean, it definitely says something.
It does.
Yeah.
When you think of this trade deadline coming up, because it's June 5th taping this, trade deadline season's about to be in full swing. It's one of the best times of year in sports, in my opinion. Mets at the trade deadline. I don't know if you saw this. Steve Cohen, he tweeted, then deleted. He was responding to a fan arguing that the front office should unload players. He said, quote, all in the future, not much we can do until trade deadline, after, the Mets lost to the Phillies when he tweeted that. So I think Uncle Steve's doing a little foreshadowing about some moves that are going to be made. What do you think is going to happen with the Mets at the trade deadline? Full scale unload or just a couple here and there?
I think the next 2.5 months will set it. I mean, there's still a world where we could be within striking distance of the wild card, and Steve Cohen's going to want to go for it. But definitely realistically, it's going to be a pretty big teardown. I think there's a couple of different tiers of it, in my opinion. There's the first tier. There's Bader. There's Quintana, Severino, who's been sick recently, Manaea. All these guys on short 1-year contracts. I would be surprised if they're showing the door. And then you've got the guys like Marte and McNeil who under contract for another year, but they've got a lot of money attached, and maybe it's a Verlander situation where we trade them away, eat some of the money, and maybe get a prospect. Obviously, those guys aren't as good as Verlander and Scherzer were, but I think those guys are a little bit of a different situation, even though, honest to God, those are the two who I want gone the most, considering we have prospects in those spots. I want to see Jet Williams. I want to see Acuna. I want to see Drew Gilbert. That's the next thing I'm next point of watching Mets baseball right now is for those young guys. And then there's the big polar bear. It really seems like he's gone. Every report is that he's gone. I mean, we offered him 7 years, 158 over the offseason. I don't see a world where he gets anything better than that. And if the Mets think he's not going to take anything worse than that, and it's not close, let's get rid of him. I mean, what's fighting for it even more is that if we keep him and we give him a qualifying offer, because Steve Cohen spends $330 million in the roster, instead of getting a first-round comp pick, it'd be a fourth-round comp pick. And I think that's the big thing there, where, when the Rockies kept Nolan Arenado, or was was an Arenado or it was Chris Bryant or some one of those players. They're like, we're just going to get the comp pick for him and be better than any prospect we can get in trade. That's not the case with Alonso. If we keep him, I don't know what a 4th round comp pick really does for us.
It's a good point. Yeah, I was looking at some like potential destinations because, power hitting first baseman or even using him as a DH. I saw the Mariners thrown out, which would be kind of fun. The Tampa Bay Rays, kind of like what they did a couple years ago for Nelly Cruz at the deadline. Forgotten, people forget Nelly Cruz, Tampa Bay Ray at one point.
Yeah.
Rays could always use help at DH. And also, I thought this is one kind of outside the box, but it'd be kind of fun. The Red Sox, because Dom Smith is also there, and it would just be like getting the old band back together. It would be Dom and Pete back in Boston once again, teammates again.
Are the Red Sox good enough? Would they be buying at the deadline? I feel like they're not. There's one.
They're good-ish. They're 31-31.
Well, I mean, relatively. There's 2 others that I would throw out for you, which I think I would take over all of those. There's a sleeping giant down in Houston, which has got a pretty big hole at first base. And then the North Siders in Chicago, or Cubbies, they've been linked to him. I think as a Mets fan, I think seeing him in Chicago would be the only place that I'm like, I can relate to that fan base, enjoy him. But I still don't want to see him anywhere else. Unless we're like really bad.
That's why I guess send him to the American League to one of my teams. Yeah, the M's would be fun. It'd probably be a DH over there. Tampa probably be a DH too because of Yandy, but I don't know. Just that way you don't have to play him. That's the thing when you trade somebody. It's like you just want to send him far away. It's like when the Orioles traded Machado to the Dodgers. I'm like, I never have to see him ever again. It was great.
No, send him to Houston then. Let him win a couple more games. We'll take another good prospect. Play him alongside Gilbert and Clifford, who we got for them from Verlander. We'll take their farm system.
I like it. I like where your head's at. Here's a team that is also struggling this far in 2024. It's the last place, Toronto Blue Jays, 28-32 as of taping. They have 2 interesting guys on their team that have been linked to trade rumors, but, the GM has came out against that. So I'm talking about Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette, the shiniest players on their last place roster, in my opinion, both free agents after 2025. Here's their GM, Ross Atkins. He said he was disappointed to see that reports that the Blue Jays could trade them. He said, quote, "It just doesn't make any sense for us. There will be occasional times where you're talking to other execs where they'll ask if you'll consider it. And we just say it's not something we have spent any time on because they're so talented and great and whatever." That I always love when you see quotes like this because they should all be like bookmarked if you see on Twitter. Just wait a month. They'll for sure be traded now just because you'll see one thing will be said and then give it a little time and then they'll just flip it. And then they'll be playing in like San Diego or something.
Yeah, these kind of tweets from the GMs or quotes from the GM should always have the asterisks and then like the truth thing at the bottom and just say like, what do you want him to say? Like, I'm going to trade these guys right now. Because obviously he's not going to say that. Obviously he's not going to say, hey, we're listening on 2 stars a month and a half out. Build up the value, lie a little bit. If not, these guys feel better. Yeah. Would I be surprised if both of them are gone? Come August? Not really. Vladdy's still, he was an MVP candidate 2 years ago. Some team's going to think that there's a chance on them here. Bo Bichette's the guy who I think he's a little bit of a different situation. He's having a lot more of a down year than Vladdy. Vladdy's like, he's sitting pretty well. His power numbers are way down. Bo Bichette, even last year, he was hitting 340, but it was kind of an empty 340 where his slugging percentage was 400, where he was just kind of straight singles. Those guys tend to have a little bit more leeway where they're not going to fetch as much in the open market as a guy like Vladdy will.
Yeah, 2023, Bo Bichette batted .306, slugged .475. So, a lot of singles, only 20 homers. This year, he's batting a cool .238 with 4 bombs. So, I think you're right. I think that's part of the reason why I don't think they'll get traded is just because, like, one, there's a whole other year of control. You have some time. You don't have, it's not like a rental thing where it's like, oh, we got to do something because we're bad. You have a little time. Let's see if we can change those numbers around a little bit because you will be selling at a little bit of a low point for these guys. So maybe you can get better prospects if they turn it around. Here's Jeff Passan said that the Blue Jays will wait until the All-Star break on around the July 16th, 18th mark before making any decisions. But seeing where they are in the AL East, I don't know, man. I'm looking at the Orioles and the Yankees and all these other teams ahead of them in the wild card. There's 4 teams ahead of the Blue Jays right now for that last wild card spot. I don't know. Do you think that they should start seriously considering tearing down, because they have other people they can get rid of besides just Vlad and Bo?
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, if those two go, then what's his name? What's his name? The pitcher. He was on the Mets too. Chris Bassett. He's another guy. They've got George Springer's another guy. Varsho, I know they just got him. He's another guy he's having a good year. Biggio, like they could be the team that really just completely changes the playoff race by just sending guys out to various different teams. I think they're approaching they've definitely kind of gone all in on this core over the past couple of years, even trading away Gabby Moreno. Like, how good would he look up in Toronto right now? So I'm always curious if teams like that, do they want to tear it down too early before it's too late? Because I could see this totally being kind of a White Sox scenario where, obviously the other things are going on there too, but 1 or 2 years down the line, you're like, how is this team not further along?
Great point. I think if nothing else, they have some guys on like 1 year-ish deals that they can get rid of. They're like Kevin Kiermaier could be traded to a contender, like Danny Jansen, Justin Turner, IKF. Like they're not going to be getting a king's ransom or a top 30 prospect or whatever for these guys. But if they want to do like the light rebuild, which like the Orioles did that with like Trey Mancini in 2022. It's like, hey, we're bad. We're not that bad. We're still kind of in it. All right, well, let's just trade our first baseman away, get a couple good prospects back for him. Ironically, I think I was reading that the Mets could look for a similar-ish trade haul if they wanted to trade Alonso. Like Mancini got a couple good prospects out of that. If they want to do like that kind of thing, maybe. But it's a fascinating thing up there in Toronto. They have a lot of options, ways they can go. I like that. Just, let's give it a month. Let's just see where we're at. If we're still, 5th place and sucking ass. Like, yeah, all right, we'll just start tearing it down.
Yeah, and I wonder also if they're a team that kind of looks to other teams in their division. I mean, will this core ever be better than what the Yankees have right now, or what Baltimore is in the process of putting together? Like I said, if they were in the AL Central, completely different story. They probably could be competing with a lot of these teams. Maybe they're a stone's throw away from being in the first place, conversation. Obviously, the Guardians are all of a sudden out of nowhere doing crazy. But I don't know if a Bo Bichette or Vlad Guerrero core will ever beat a Gunnar, Adley, insert 3 other guys, Baltimore core.
It's a great point. Yeah, they have kind of like lagged behind in terms of the AL East. Also, the Rays have a little bit too, but I don't know. The Rays I put in a different category than Toronto, because Toronto has spent a lot of money to get these guys, and they've developed a lot of their guys, and it's just like they have. I don't know. It's a very fascinating situation where like people are like, oh, the Red Sox are just trying to tank on purpose. They didn't spend any money, but now they're pitching like crazy out of nowhere. So, 3rd place, 500 record. So yeah, the AL East is a fascinating case study down the stretch here. I wanted to switch gears just a little bit, and there's a lot of teams struggling right now. We just talked about the Blue Jays are not playing up to snuff. But of all the teams in baseball, when you look at the standings, you look at some of these teams that we thought would be a lot better. And who are underperforming. Who do you think right now can turn it around? Who could change their season?
Yeah, I kind of let this slip a little bit earlier, but Houston they're just too good and I'm going to say this all year until they miss the playoffs. They're too good, too experienced, and too talented to be doing what they're doing right now. I get they just lost, was it Urquidy and Javier to season longs. They still got Framber. Got a couple young pitchers in there. Verlander's there. He's still Justin Verlander. Even if he's 40 years old, I just can't see a world where they don't make the playoffs. And I especially can't see a world where if they're in the playoffs, it's not a team I'd want to see, just because they've been there so much recently with the comfort and experience.
We interrupt this episode to bring you a word from the official sponsor of Not For Long Media and the Breaking Bats podcast, the original Fudge Kitchen. It is a staple of the Jersey Shore with 6 locations in Cape May, Wildwood, North Wildwood, Stone Harbor, and Ocean City. The original Fudge Kitchen makes all of their fudge in store, guaranteeing a delicious product, so stop by and let them know that Not For Long Media and Breaking Bats sent you. Check them out online at fudgekitchens.com, as they are shipping fudge and sweet treats all across the country. Now back to the episode. Kyle Tucker's playing like an MVP candidate. They
Didn't
have
even
got
mention.
like Altuve's still there bopping. Like Bregman's still there. They have guys that are coming up, maybe if they get an Alonso to play first base instead of that John Singleton Abreu combo they got going. Yikes.
Sure.
Yeah, and Haters turned a season around. The Astros are 28-34 in third place in the AL West as of right now. So that's a great one. I was so high on the Cincinnati Reds. Last year, I bought in. I was like, I'm drinking the red Kool-Aid. Joey Votto, I got caught up in Ellie Mania. You name a Red storyline, I was all for it.
Mhm.
So that was last year. I'm coming into this year even higher on the Reds. And it just hasn't worked out so far. As of right now, the Reds are 29-33, which, it's not great, but in the NL Central, they're kind of lagging behind a little bit. There's a couple things when I look at the Reds that like they have reasons for optimism moving forward. So they can't hit for power right now. They're slugging as a group 375. Probably should have kept Joey Votto. But there's a lot of reasons for that because like Spencer Steer had led the team in homers last year. He's been up and down. Like March and April was great. May's like batting average and balls in play was like 188 last month. He's going to rebound. He's not going to be like that all year. Ellie carried the team the first month, sucked the second month, which is coincidentally when Steer sucks. So they got to figure out the offensive part of their game a little bit, but they have too much talent, even with the guys that even have hurt, to be this bad offensively. And their pitching has been like league average, which is not like anything to write home about, but it's been good enough for them to win ball games. They have like Hunter Green's pitching really well this year. Their team ERA is under 4. They just have to put some runs on the board and help some of their starters out. So I think this is a team, if you look down the stretch, don't be surprised if the Cincinnati Reds are making another playoff run at that wild card spot. They've been super unlucky as of this point. So, and just check out their run differential. They're plus 11 in like almost a last place team. You're like, well, how does that work? Their expected win-loss record is 32-30. So, 32-30. That makes sense. I know how to do math sometimes. But yeah, just they've been super unlucky is the theme of this. So there's no reason why they can't turn it around.
Yeah, the Reds give me like extreme hitting is contagious vibes, and this kind of goes back to last year when they're such a young team with guys who are pre-arbitration eligible, where if they're so early in their career that when one of them kind of struggles, there's not that kind of consistent guy you can fall back on. And I don't know that Joey Votto would have been that guy at this point in his career, so I'm not blaming that on him leaving. I definitely could have been could be a factor on it. But if they all put it together at the same time, and that's kind of how it goes, where one of them will get hot, and then someone else will get hot, and then Ellie starts seeing more strikes, and then Spencer Steer's getting more fastballs to hit, and then all of a sudden things will come together and they'll go on a crazy stretch like they did last year. That's not out of the realm of possibilities to me.
The straw that stirs the drink, TJ Friedel. He's only played in 12 games so far. He's looked really good ever since he's come back off his latest injury. So they're going to have him at the top of the order, stealing bags, getting on base, which is something they haven't had up to this point. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons why the Reds are going to be a lot better this year. And so I'm buying. I'm still in Cincinnati Reds. You haven't lost me yet. Although we are getting kind of close to that. Here's a team for you that, if you pull up the MLB standings right now and you're looking around, you're like, what has been the biggest shock, surprise, whatever you want to call it? How about the Cleveland Guardians being 40-20? And in what world did you think that the Guardians would have a 667 winning percentage?
And not in my world. I didn't expect this. Not even slightly. I saw a video the other day, and this goes back to me being a Mets fan, where they're like, should the Guardians reunite with Lindor? Where is this coming from? But I didn't realize this just shows how quietly they've been doing this. I didn't realize they were this good. You got to give credit to first-year manager Stephen Vogt. I mean, everything I've heard out of the players out of that camp, how much they love playing for him. He seems like the perfect kind of guy to be a manager, former catcher. They're doing all the little things. They've got a good lineup, and Bo Naylor's breaking out. Josh Naylor's doing well. I mean, here it goes. Show us what you got.
I think you said something that was so brilliant. It's just like they're quietly doing this. I don't think if you watch any national baseball coverage, you'll hear about the Yankees and the Orioles and the Dodgers because all they have is just like superstars and bankable name brand guys. Yeah. Guardians don't have that. Guardians have like one. All right, so here's some things I saw. One offensive superstar, Jose Ramirez, leads the team in WAR, 11 homers, 13 Ks in his last 30 games. Almost the same number of home runs and strikeouts. Let that sink in because I watch a lot of Joey Gallo and I can't wrap my brain around that because Joey Gallo will strike out 13 times in one game somehow. Dude's playing out of his mind. Also leads the league in RBIs too. So Ramirez back. Closer, Emmanuel Clase, second in the league in saves, 19. The Guards are 31-0 after leading after 8. 31-0 if they have a lead after 8 innings. They don't lose games. You know, they can't. And then here's another thing. They have the best bullpen ERA. Best bullpen ERA in baseball, 2.38. This is a 5-inning ball game when you're playing the Cleveland Guardians. That back of the bullpen, here are some names for you if you just want to like throw it. Hunter Gaddis, Cade Smith, Tim Herron, all have sub-2s coming out of the bullpen.
I like to think that I pay a lot of attention to baseball and follow it pretty closely. I have no idea who any of those guys are.
I don't either. I'll be honest, I don't watch a lot of Guards games.
I'm going to put in the spot now. Do you know how's Karinchak been doing? Is he still out there?
He was the guy that was like Wild Thing. He like cut his hair. James Karinchak. He's good. 3.2 ERA.
I mean,
he hasn't pitched this year.
Oh, he hasn't pitched this year?
Math is not a strong suit. He's on the 60-day IL. That last year, 3.23 ERA.
Okay. Well, that's why I haven't heard anything about him this year because he's hurt. So they're doing it even without him.
They're doing it without him. I don't know who any of these relievers are other than Class A. So shout out. Here's another name for you. How about David Fry? Catcher, DH, first baseman. His first 2 months in this year have been otherworldly. First 36 games, 1087 OPS. Only 12 hitters in franchise history have been as productive in their first 36 appearances in a season for the Indians franchise.
Well, shout out David Fry.
Shout out David Fry. Rotation, great. Hitting, solid. Bullpen, lights out. This is an October recipe if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that I'm about to say this, but this is going to be a first-round exit just based on history. I mean, this is totally what it's setting up to be. They're going to run into someone. They're going to have home field, and they're going to get swept.
They're going to play the Yankees again.
I don't want it to happen. Yeah, they're going to play the Yankees. They're going to get swept. And I don't want it to happen, or they're going to play the second-place Baltimore Orioles in the 3-game wild card round. Get the boot. But I mean, they should hold the team. I hope. I mean, they're doing this without Bieber also.
Yep. No Biebs.
Yeah, good for them. Good for Stephen Vogt.
Good for Stephen Vogt. My buddies and I are all still like, this is still the Royals division. We're like, hey, you know what? Royals pitching well. Bobby Wood Jr. MVP candidate also. Like, why aren't the Royals better? It's like, well, because like I said earlier, it's a 5-inning ball game. Because once you get to the 6th, then dudes like Hunter Gaddis come in throwing gas. Like, it's it. That's a wrap.
Yeah, Cleveland definitely deserves more credit for the pitching factory that they've had the past couple of 10 years or so.
100%. Just an underrated, under the radar organization for great pitching, hitting that's solid. They'll have like one guy like Jose Ramirez. Like, I don't know, they're not going to wow you. Naylor's really good, but yeah, don't be surprised if we're like deep into the season. We're like, God damn, the Guardians have like 90 something wins. Don't be surprised. Here are two teams that are the complete opposite of the Cleveland Guardians in terms of notoriety, name recognition, and star power. Talking about the LA Dodgers and the New York Yankees. These are two teams that have met in the World Series over the course of history 11 times, more than any two teams have ever combined. Dodgers second in the NL. Yankees lead the AL. Phillies obviously first in the NL if you look at the league standings. What are the odds that they meet again in October? Because God knows that the MLB would love a good Dodgers-Yankees like ratings bonanza.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we're due for one of these two big name organizations in the World Series type of year. I will say on the Dodgers, the pitching scares me. Yamamoto's not playoff tested yet. I don't think that they're still missing a lot of guys. Who knows what Buehler's going to be by the end of the year. Kershaw's coming back, but he's been interesting in the playoffs. Like I can see the world where what's been going on in the past couple of years with the Dodgers, where they kind of just don't have. I mean, well, they have Glass now, and he's been absolutely disgusting. But you get injured. Hope not. But I can see the world where the pitching kind of lets them down, and it's kind of always felt like next year was their year when Ohtani's back on the mound and Yamamoto will be a little bit more settled. So, do I think that's going to happen? Not really. There's no reason to bet against them, but that would be my concern if I was a Dodgers fan. And then honestly, if I was the Yankees, I'd kind of be a little bit of the same way. We still haven't seen Garrett Cole this year. He just made his first rehab start and he looked good, but still haven't seen him yet. Rodon, he's been good in the playoffs. He's been good recently this year, but I don't know that he's still back to his full dominant self that he was the past couple of years. And besides from that, I don't know that I don't think he will be pitching in the playoffs. I think they'll probably cap his innings around when Cole comes back, maybe in August, depending on how crazy he's been. But I think both those teams could be prime candidates to get that frontline guy come deadline season.
I feel like every year we have this conversation of just like, damn, the Dodgers and Yankees are good. How great would it be for baseball and the sport to grow the game, whatever? Just like if they met in the World Series, we get 20 million viewers a night or whatever. It never happens like that. So it would be fun just from the perspective of like, oh, the old rivalry from like the Brooklyn Dodgers Yankees would be fun to get that reignited in 2024. Like, damn, this should be the year. Yeah, there's too many variables at play. You're right. The Dodgers, even though you said all those things about the Dodgers pitching, I just looked and they're third in team ERA. That's without Kershaw. That's without, that's with Yamamoto, being good. Sometimes he's not that great, but their bullpen is lights out. Ohtani's mashing at the dish. There's a lot of things going right for them, but yeah, they'll probably lose to like an 85 win wild card team again.
Yeah, I think just the way that the playoffs are set up, it's not always the best team over 162 is going to win it. We saw that last year with the Diamondbacks make a run. If you get 2 or 3 hot pitchers, you can kind of essentially just ride them to the end. So it's just kind of about who that team's going to be this year to give the Dodgers or Yankees a run for their money.
That's a great point. Yeah, I mean, the Rangers, Diamondbacks, I don't know who had that. I don't know what the odds were if you would have picked those as your World Series teams last year, but if you looked at the ratings, it was not great for the growth of the game having those two teams in the Southwest just competing because they're, like you said, they weren't the best teams in baseball. Let's talk a little trade deadline really quick. It's almost trade deadline season, as we mentioned earlier. It gets people going. I'm telling you, people love MLB trade deadline season. All the contenders are looking to those bad teams, trying to pick the best guys off of the worst teams. If you look at some of the worst teams in baseball, like the A's, White Sox, Marlins, Rockies, like when you look around, is there a couple names you've already had circled kind of internally? Like, all right, this guy would be sweet somewhere else.
Yeah. I'll go team by team here. Jesus Luzardo is the big one, I think, on the Marlins, where that could be the guy, the biggest arm move, the guy that the Dodgers or Yankees want to go get to be their frontline guy. I'm not sure how he's been doing off the top of my head this year exactly, but he's definitely a very solid arm who can give you some legit innings in the playoffs. I think McMahon on the Rockies is a big one. They historically don't really like to sell guys at the deadline, but could they be persuaded if someone throws in a bunch of prospects? I think you have to consider it, especially when you look at their division, who they're playing against. Those are the two big ones for me. And then there's always just who's going to tear down the Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, I mean, White Sox, Tommy Pham's an easy one. Guy's hitting 280 this year. He's only making like $3 million total. Catch him for a cool $1 million down the stretch. That's an easy one. Luis Robert Jr., if they decide to like completely tear it down, like you said, guy had almost 40 bombs last year when he was fully healthy. So let's see what happens with him. I don't think the A's are selling Mason Miller. Yeah. I hear all these people like, you got to free him. Like, it's not right what they're doing. It's like the guy has under control for like 6 more years.
Yeah, I don't really see the point of them trading him yet. I don't think he's going to lose value over the course of a year. I mean, he's still just been as dominant as he was. He'll continue to be this dominant. He's still 103 miles an hour. I don't see that happening.
No, I think all the people, I think it's just a fun video topic to just be like, hey, Mason Miller is good, huh? And then here's one for you. Here's a recurring guest friend of the pod. How about Ryan Weathers? Lefty. He's not a free agent until like 2028 or something. Still under that rookie deal stuff. 3.4 ERA. Like, Guy's having a huge career year down there in South Florida. So I could see a contender being like, you know what? Give me some Ryan Weathers, number 3-ish starter in a rotation somewhere like that. He could be a sneaky good deal if the Marlins decide to completely tear it down.
Yeah, so just thinking off the top of my head on that one, I mean, the Marlins seem like they're ready to tear it apart. I don't really see why you would trade Luis Ariz if you weren't ready to do that. Seems like Bendix is ready to get his guys in there. But I think Weathers might be a Peter Bendix guy. Peter Bendix, the new GM of the Marlins this year, because I think he traded for him this offseason. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's the guy they want to hang on to, just because their GM just went out and got him. I feel like teams want to normally bring in their own guys when a regime change happens. So that's kind of the asterisk I'll float for that. But I mean, shout out to him for having a great bounce back here. Maybe it's kind of related. I don't know.
You know what? You come on the Breaking Bats podcast, talk to Justin and Ricky. Great things happen. That's a great point. That's true in most sports where it's like guys just want their guys. It's very dumb to say out loud, but it's just like, that's not my guy. I don't like that. Like he could be good, but he's just like, he's not mine. It's very funny when that happens. Okay. Let's do a couple last things. It is MLB All-Star voting season. Today on June 5th, phase 1 of the MLB All-Star ballots kicked off. All-Star games July 16th down in Arlington. Here's a question before we fill out a ballot. Do you usually vote for star power or do you vote for who has the better numbers?
I will admit I haven't voted a ton over the past couple of years, so I still got to figure out what my mantra is going to be for the ballot. What I normally do is I normally fill kind of it out half-heartedly, and then they start asking for emails and all those different things, and I'm like, I don't like it. But I think I'm going to try to do based on statistics and who deserves it. Star power, that'll get them in the future, but my ballot doesn't need to be star biased.
I like that. Ricky's a man of the people. All right, let me figure out technology, and we will vote as a group. Look at that. Oof. That's. I don't know if you're watching on YouTube. I'm getting myself a pat on the back for navigating StreamYard like a champ. It's not easy, folks. Okay, so this is what the ballot looks like on MLB.com. We're going position by position. We can go by pretty quick. We don't have to give like a full in-depth thesis on who we're gonna pick for AL first baseman. Yeah, I think there's a couple options, a couple ways we could go. We can go Mountie from the Orioles. We're just looking around. Friend of the pod, Nate Lowe, not having a bad year.
Josh Naylor's 16 bombs is pretty solid too.
Josh Naylor has 16 bombs. I think that's the most of all AL first basemen.
Wow.
Yeah. What I don't know. Mountie's had a couple 2-homer games back to back or in the same week here. So
yeah, I think it'd be Mountcastle or Naylor for me. I'd probably be fine either way on those two.
Let's go Mountie. NL first baseman. I know you want Polar Bear Pete. There's a couple other guys like Freddie Freeman's having a great year. Harper.
Joey Gallo's hitting 159.
Yeah. It's not the best.
I think it's got to be Harper or Freddie.
Freddie's not wowing me with the pop though. I'm gonna go Harp just because 14 bombs and 44 stakes it's pretty good.
It's pretty solid. Playing good defense there too.
He is first base. AL second baseman, not a lot for being honest. There's not a ton. Like I guess Semien. It's probably the one that would jump out at me is like look at these guys like Geloff.
Yeah,
he made 100 average in the AL second baseman.
I was about to say I've seen a lot of ones. I don't know if he's probably not the starter at second base, but shout out Davis Schneider. I mean, one of the best mustaches in baseball. He's having a great year too. All the Blue Jays guys I'm seeing are just they're all stoked about him.
Yeah, has a solid mustache. Let's go Semien.
I like it.
I feel like he's a surefire bet. NL second baseman. McNeil's not having a great year.
Definitely not McNeil.
I'm low key a Bryce Durang super fan. He's having a great year.
What about
Ketel Marte, 12 bombs. That's a good one. What about Arias is batting 335?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning towards Ketel there.
I like Ketel. We'll go Ketel. We're gonna do some third base in the AL. Devers is having a hell of a season. We just talked about Jose Ramirez though. He is leading the league in ribs.
He's played for a week. It's kind of hilarious that Royce Lewis is on there with a 1,000 average, 2 bombs, 4 dot OPS.
Yeah.
You saw
I mean,
Paredes have a good year.
Paredes hitting 294. Westy from the Orioles is batting 285. I kind of like Jose Ramirez.
Oh, yeah. That's a pretty good 272, 16, 58 slash right there.
Yeah, I mean that's hard to top that. Like I said, he leads the league in RBIs. NL third baseman, some of the old guards not really hitting. Chapman, Arenado aren't really hitting. Bohm's having a good year.
Machado's
Manny's
not
good.
I think it might be. I think McMahon is probably my guy right now.
Ryan McMahon. We could go Ryan McMahon. You like him for NL third?
Let's see. Scroll down a little bit more. I saw 280. I saw a 280 average up there. Who's that? Joey Ortiz.
Yeah.
Not too bad.
Oriole,
I think
Joey
McMahon's
Ortiz.
probably my guy.
Let's do it. All right. AL shortstop. We just talked about Bo Bichette batting a cool 238. So it's not going to be him. It's got to be. Well, here's the thing: two-headed race. Gunnar versus Bobby Witt.
Oh. I think Bobby Witt's got to beat in every category except for home runs there.
OPS, Gunner's got him.
Yeah, flip a coin.
Are you a Gunner guy or I'm a Gunner guy, dude.
I will say Bobby Witt was my MVP pick. I got to kind of, I don't know.
19 bombs.
Yeah, but 320 versus 270 is a big drop.
Yeah, that's a good point. I gotta go gun. I gotta go gun.
I like it. Take your Orioles.
You have to. We could talk about NL MVP in the next thing, but Mookie Betts is just demolishing everybody.
Just choose it. It's easy.
Just Mookie Betts. Catcher is light. Sal Perez is probably the only option I feel like for the AL that makes any sense.
Yeah, he kind of jumps out at you there.
I mean, Danny Jansen's having a good year, but Heim was an all-star last year. Not great. Hoppy started good. Now he's batting 240. Like, there's not a lot. Adley.
Adley or Sal look pretty similar, except Sal's a little bit better in the RBIs, average and OPS. Yeah, I'd go Sally.
Sal's got him by 100 in OPS somehow, which is crazy. Catcher in the NL. Well, I mean, it's got to be William Contreras, right? Yeah. I mean, that's a quick, easy one. 3 in the AL outfield. It makes me sad there's no Mike Trout. There's some guys popping off a little early. I don't know. This is a hard one. So, like, Adolis is batting 227, which isn't great. I mean, Judge.
Yeah, there's an easy one right there. There's two easy ones from that team.
Judge and Soto. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
if we scroll down and find
it's
one.
boring. It's got to happen. And then
Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. I mean, those are my 3.
NL outfield. We're gonna roll with.
Here.
God, there's so many names on here. Carroll's god awful. Gee, he makes me sad every day.
He said 190. Oh, that's tough for him. I thought he
had 194. Let's go. I don't know who are we thinking? Like, there's not a lot. I mean, good guy Jerkson Profar. Shout out him batting 2.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably got to be on there hitting 330.
That would be very funny. Yeah, I mean, Tatis name value, but he's 265, 777 OPS. Yelly, I kind of like Yelly.
Yeah, I think I'd go Yelly, Profar, and then figure out a third.
Yelly, Profar. I didn't like any of these top ones, to be honest. Teoscar. No, I don't want Teoscar. This is the NL outfield it's come a long way. Belly, I guess, maybe. No, that's just for name value. I don't know. This might just have to be pick somebody that you recognize battle. You want to go Tatis?
Yeah, I think 10 bombs. That's the highest I've seen.
Okay, we'll go Tatis. All right, DH in the AL. We talked a lot about David Fry, 342 batting average. Jordan's pretty good. Friend of the pod, Ryan O'Hearn.
David Fry kind of jumps out at you right there.
You want him over Jordan?
Second coming in Mike Trout too. Why is he a DH?
I don't know. I like Kerry Carpenter a lot, but it's either Jordan or David Fry. I'll let you pick.
Let's give it to David Fry.
David Fry. NLDH. I mean, it's got to be Ohtani, probably.
No, I don't know, man. He's not doing that well.
Yeah, his 320 and 14 homers are like, it's a little underwhelming, I feel like.
If there was any value on him to win the Triple Crown, I would take it right now.
So here is our All-Star ballot phase 1 edition. We first base, Mountie and Bryce Harper. Second base, Semien and Ketel Marte. Third base, Jose Ramirez and Ryan McMahon. Shortstop is Gunnar and Mookie. Catcher is Sal Perez and William Contreras. Our outfields are Judge Soto and Kyle Tucker. Jerks and Profar, Tatis Jr. and Yelich. And David Fry and Shohei Ohtani are our DHs. That's a pretty solid list, if I do say so myself.
I like it. I think we did a nice little mix of star power and young guys who hopefully can keep it going for another month.
Hell yeah. All right, let's end with our preseason predictions. Let's just check in. So at the beginning of the year, Ricky and I sat down. We did our predictions for breakout teams, MVPs, Cy Youngs, World Series. As of June 5th, you have it pulled up. I have it pulled up. I feel like you might be, we both, there are some injuries that we have to address, but I feel like you might have a little bit of an edge. So breakout team was the Pirates. You said the Royals. That's point you.
I definitely like the Soto MVP pick, and I'll take mine. Acuna, I mean,
that's a wash.
That's tough.
Yeah, you had Soto and Acuna were your MVPs. I had Julio Rodriguez and Mookie. So I think we'll split that.
Agree on that one.
Cy Youngs, I had Corbin Burns and the now injured for the rest of the year, Spencer Strider. And you had Burns and Wheeler. So honestly, I
don't think Wheeler's dead yet.
Wheeler might have some life. So you might come out on top. We were both very high on Texas. We both had Texas in the World Series. I had Braves over Rangers. You had Rangers over Dodgers.
Honestly,
I'll be honest.
My Texas season doesn't start until DeGrom and Scherzer come back. So I think that one's still very much in the air.
That's a good point.
They're still missing a lot of guys. The plan for them was always hang around as long as you can until the cavalry comes in.
I don't love Braves over Rangers. I don't think the Braves that Braves offense is baffling. You have like Austin Riley and Matt Olson scuffling, and Acuna's out for the year. It's just like I don't think this is the same Braves team.
Yeah, they need a couple arms too.
The betting favorites for MVP are Mookie Betts and Juan Soto. So yeah, like I said, we both
pretty good out of us
combined.
I definitely also remember shouting out Bobby Witt Jr., and he's very much in that conversation too.
It's a good point. It's good. We should check in on this. It's like season's like kind of halfway-ish done. Check in a little bit later, but dude, this has been awesome. Thank you as always